Hi, it's March the 11th and you're here with Crypto Divas. We're going to talk about what's happened in the crypto sphere this week, whether it's been good or bad. And my name is Jillian Godsil. I'm here with my co-host Morgan Pierce. So without any further ado, let's start off with Good Week, Morgan. What good stories do you have?
So first piece I wanted to talk about for good news this week is that Friends is more than 50% of the way through their ICO. And I really like the Friends project because of the ethos that they had going into their fundraising. They were really focused on making sure that they married their marketing messaging, if you will, that they want to have a very large user base with the marketing of their ICO. In other words, they wanted as many people as possible to participate in their ICO because it matches what they want to do with their business strategy. So I thought that was, really positive. They're 50% of the way through. And I think it was you said to me that they had a philosophy, or that you read somewhere they have a philosophy of having, goldfish involved instead of whales. And so I thought that was really.
And I love that idea too.
It's a good sign for them. So that's my first piece of good news for the week.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact they're calling them goldfish and not minnows. Goldfish sound much more attractive.
Right.
So
I just got the gold part.
Yeah, exactly. And
okay, how about you?
I love the bit too as well that I'm very well. I love the bit in terms of good news that a company, an Irish ICO called Newbie, they have just finished their private pre-sale and they have raised 5 million. So I have to say, disclaimer here, I'm actually an advisor with Newbie, and they're really good guys. The CEO is a chap called Lachlan Nestor, good name, and he before ran Newbie, which was an ecosystem, first cloud-based ecosystem in the world actually for startups to go through that whole process. And now what he's doing is he's putting it onto the blockchain, hence Newbie. And they're really good because they are they're doing all their KYC and their AML, and they partner with people in the industry to do it. So it's looking very good. And the 5 million is that's a very positive news story. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, successful, and it was very quick too, wasn't there? ICO, did it happen?
Well, it took over a couple of weeks, all right. But
but that's still
very, very steady. They were very happy, and they think they probably exceeded their hard cap. Actually, they're doing all the KYC now and see what comes out. But no, they were very happy with it. In fact, it was so many pledges came in. They've actually pushed out the next public pre-sale because they have to sort it all out. So they want to do it properly.
Okay, so this was a private pre-sale.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
So what other good news do you have then? So that's two fundraising going well for good companies.
Well, and actually my third one is also on the fundraising front. There's a crowd called Multicoin that have raised, it's a hedge fund actually, that have raised more than $50 million from institutional investors, venture capitalists, including Andreessen Horowitz, which is a big thumbs up in the technology business, and they're aiming to raise 250 million, of which they've raised 50 million very quickly. So that to me is a signal that the institutional money is starting to come into the cryptocurrency world in a way where it's being shepherded and ushered in properly with some oversight in terms of it being a hedge fund. So it's a big endorsement for our cryptocurrency world for sure. And then the other piece of good news that I have is a kudos to Ripple for launching another application that they're launching in conjunction with the Japan Bank Consortium. And an application called MoneyTap will be able to settle transactions instantaneously 24/7, and it's being rolled out in Japan in the next couple of months. So it's another sort of feather in Ripple's cap. I think that's very positive. How about you?
Yeah, I have one other piece of good news that I wanted to highlight, and it's again on the endorsement of the industry. There was an announcement that there's been 150 patents taken out by financial institutions with crypto patents. So that means that financial institutions are finally waking up to realize this is not going to go away. And Bank of America, they have filed the most, 45 patents. And then MasterCard have 21 patents. But there's also people like Bank of China, PayPal, and Visa. So that's really showing that the two worlds are starting to merge a bit better. And that's always good. So I think that's a very positive story. But of course, it leads on to the two worlds. Are they merging or are they butting up together? I think you've got some maybe bad weeks sort of stories that are coming out. and between regulation and the crypto markets?
Yeah, it was a tough market, I think. Really, really a tough week, sorry, for the cryptocurrency market. There were two sort of major things that happened in the SEC. I think there are the figures that more than 80 subpoenas were served on initial coin offering companies that were asked to really disclose information and make information more publicly available so that the SEC could ascertain whether or not they were in fact securities. And if they are securities, then they are required really by the SEC in the United States to be regulated as such. So a big, sort of shot over the bow, if you will, by the SEC. And then a second one that they also came out with during the week is that exchanges need to register if they are trading digital assets that are considered securities.
Yeah.
So again, if any of the companies that they are going to be scrutinizing end up operating in the same way that that a security does, and some of them are, then the exchanges need to be registered with the SEC as well. So I think it sends a negative note to the industry that the SEC is asking all these questions and kind of getting involved. On the other hand, it's a strong signal that the cryptocurrency world is starting to really make some significant inroads into lots of different places. And, it's, I think, positive in the long run for regulators to get involved, provided that they don't, put up the same barriers to entry that they had for the other financial markets that have kind of kept that unavailable or inaccessible to the mass public, which I think was really the demand that ICOs are creating anyway. So anyway, I'm ranting on about this, and I don't want to do it, but I do think it is positive that the SEC is getting involved. It just, the market is nervous because we don't know how heavily they're going to get involved. So
I think you're right.
The market really nervous to have any kind of activity that's regulatory in nature, even though it's a positive move. So end of story. Rant over.
Well, it is hard to know because everybody agrees that regulation is important. It has to come. People need to be protected. Yeah. But how it's coming is kind of scary, I guess. And how will it be applied retrospectively? There's all that conversation that's going on, I think, which is a bit of a worry. And it's interesting, one of my bad news stories, which again may not be, but obviously we remember Munchie had that letter from the SEC, which they actually voluntarily stopped their sale, their token sale. But then a few days ago, Bitcoin with the COIN, they were told by the state of New Jersey to actually cease and desist their token sale. And I think they were afraid that it might be fraudulent. And there was a couple of issues that they highlighted. The fact that the company name was Bitcoin with a double I, so it was confusing especially to retail investors. The team was anonymous. I know we do have privacy coins, but it was just seen as it wasn't that great. There was optional multi-level marketing in the pre-sale, which maybe they thought it could have been a pyramid scheme as opposed to multi-level marketing. And the person who also, Steven Seagal, was the only public figure, and he was publicly endorsing it, the big actor, of course. And that kind of falls back on the SEC have been saying recently, celebrities must be careful about what they endorse. So on the one hand, it's kind of bad news to have a cease and desist. On the other hand, maybe there was cause, that maybe it wasn't, maybe people investing in it might have lost their money. So it's a hard one to call, I think. And then the other big piece of news, of course, was Binance. That was interesting because it started off that it's a big hack. It was all over Reddit, hacked, Binance hacked. And I personally got very attached to this story because I've interviewed CZ from Binance in January, and I really admire the man. He's done amazing stuff. And as the story unfolded, it actually turned out, and CZ, he did a great job because he was there, he was transparent, he was on public social media the whole time talking. It was actually the hack of a bot that was linked. People were using bots on the Binance site. So Binance itself wasn't hacked. And plus also, they were very clever. They went back in January, they did a bit of phishing, they changed the name slightly, they put accents rather than the dot on the I. They got in to compromise accounts, but they waited until the 7th of March before they launched this attack. And the nice thing, because CZ, again, I'm a big fan of his, he's got 20 years of experience working with exchanges, within the software side of things. So he had very, very, very strong risk management triggers there. And they spotted it, and within seconds, they had stopped all the withdrawals, which is what people thought was a hack. It wasn't. It was actually their internal system. And at the end of the day, do you know who lost money? the hacker. Now that's kind of like, it started off a bad news story, but it ended up being a good news story. So I'm happy with that because I'm a big fan of CZ. But of course, Morgan, what did that do to the markets?
Oh God, it was a terrible week. We started the market at 450. Started the week a week ago at 450 billion. Today's the 11th of March, and it is 363 billion, having gone all the way down into the 330s. It's bounced back up a little bit, but I think it's going to be another 30 days or maybe 45 days before, we get back up again. We've taken a lot of kind of steady steps forward, but then the things that have knocked us back over the last 60 days have been pretty significant things. And so, but I still always look back to the November timeframe when the market started to really grow, really what I thought was too quickly. And in the middle of November, it was 235 billion. Today, in the middle of March, almost, it's 363 billion. So if you think about that, that's still 100, that's still 75% growth or something like that in 120 days. That's incredibly positive growth, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But we aren't at almost 500 billion where we were a week ago. So it is a bit of a knock. And those of us who are in it for the long run, which I am, I'm going to be in it longer now.
Yeah, that's cool. So overall, do we say it's a good week or a bad week? What do we reckon?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad week by numbers. There's no question about it. We lost the momentum that we had. So, but I think that even the bad news that did hit the market is kind of like medicine.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm kind of,
maybe we'll call it a medium week.
Yeah, I think I'm with you as well, because I had a lot of phone calls from people quite worried with all the SEC stuff and the regulation. And they went, oh my God, you're going to go to jail. You're an advisor, blah, blah, blah. It was crazy. And then I spoke to other people and they said, calm down. This is all good. This is all good because regulation needs to come in. Of course it has to come in. People, need to be protected, obviously. It's just, but you're right. It's medicine's a bit of a bumpy road at the moment. We're a bit off track. And so I'm thinking it was a bad week emotionally because I definitely had some ups and downs going, oh my God, this is so scary. But a good week because you look forward. I think going forward, there's positive, there's light at the end of the horizon. So I kind of go, maybe a medium week.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. Medium week. So the 11th of March, 2018, wrapping up, and we'll see you next week.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Morgan.